This message comes from Greenlight. Ready to start talking to your kids about financial literacy? Meet Greenlight, the debit card and money app that teaches kids and teens how to earn, save, spend wisely, and invest with your guardrails in place. With Greenlight, you can send money to kids quickly, set up chores, automate allowance, and keep an eye on your kids' spending with real-time notifications. Join millions of parents and kids building healthy financial habits together on Greenlight. Get started risk-free at greenlight.com/audio.
Most weight loss plans are one size fits all, not taking into account each person's individual needs. Noom is here to change that. Noom Weight uses psychology. That's why they say losing weight starts with your brain. But it also takes into account your unique biological factors, which also affect weight loss success. The program helps you understand the science behind your eating choices and why you have cravings. Everyone's journey is different, so your daily lessons are personalized to you and your goals. One of the great things about Noom is that it's nourishing instead of restrictive. They focus on progress instead of perfection. You don't have to give up carbs, or anything for that matter. Have cravings? Food FOMO? Noom can help you lose weight while still enjoying your favorite foods. To date, Noom has helped more than 5.2 million people lose weight. Stay focused on what's important to you with Noom's psychology and biology-based approach. Sign up for your trial today at Noom.com. That's Noom.com.
This message comes from Greenlight. Ready to start talking to your kids about financial literacy? Meet Greenlight, the debit card and money app that teaches kids and teens how to earn, save, spend wisely, and invest with your guardrails in place. With Greenlight, you can send money to kids quickly, set up chores, automate allowance, and keep an eye on your kids' spending with real-time notifications. Join millions of parents and kids building healthy financial habits together on Greenlight. Get started risk-free at greenlight.com/audio.
Discussion of conspiracy. It's the Opperman Report. Join digital forensic investigator and PI Ed Opperman for an in-depth discussion of conspiracy theories, strategy of New World Order resistance, high-profile court cases in the news, and interviews with expert guests and authors on these topics and more. It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Okay, welcome to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, private investigator Ed Opperman, and this show is brought to you by emailrevealer.com and also by our brand new sponsor, MichiganMushrooms.net. So check out good old Chris at MichiganMushrooms.net. They sell that chaga mushroom that you can make that tea out of. And also to their Facebook page, which is Michigan Mushrooms LLC. If tonight is the first time you're hearing the show, please check out OppermanReport.com, and you can check out our member section, where we have special broadcasts, special shows that we've done. It's exclusive content, and you can only hear it by subscribing to the membership section. I'd also like to dedicate this show to my daughter, Victoria. Today is her 15th birthday. Victoria, I love you more than anything in the whole world. You have no idea. I'm so proud of you. You've been God's gift to me. You've made the last 15 years of my life the happiest years I've ever had. And I'm going to be talking about a little bit more about that in the after show, because tonight we have a historic figure. I know I've been promising this for 2 years, and I keep my promises, okay? We have May Pang.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness.
I was going to do a drum roll.
2 years. Okay.
I was going to do a drum roll. Wait a minute.
Okay, go do your drum roll.
Okay, I have no sound effects here or anything like that. But May Pang, a piece of history, the girlfriend of John Lennon. She worked for both John Lennon and Yoko Ono, part of so many historic songs and recordings. She's receiving an award this weekend on Monday night, November 9th. She's going to be the ambassador of rock and roll, the ambassador of rock award. and it's at 158 Bleeker Street in New York City. And you can get your tickets if you go to rockersonbroadway.com. It's at, what's this place called? Le Poisson?
Le Poisson Rouge.
Le Poisson Rouge.
Yeah, I believe you said you were in New York at one point, and I believe this was like the Village Gate, if you go back that far.
I remember. Yeah, I lived on Bleeker Street. I lived at Yippie headquarters at 9 Bleeker Street.
There you go. I mean, that's what it is.
Yeah. Oh, how cool.
Yeah. So they've changed since you were last here. That's
I know. And you know what? It breaks my heart going back to New York, especially down Bleecker Street, because it's changed so much.
Yes. New York has changed a lot. All we have are cranes hanging overhead.
So now you're still in Manhattan?
No, I live outside. I've lived outside of New York City for years because raising the kids, my ex-husband at the time just did not think he wanted some place that we didn't have to deal with all of this. And, New York City, the apartments are small unless what I call, if you have Steven Spielberg money, or Trump money, that you could get those giant-sized apartments.
Yeah, it's so expensive. That's so true. Now, I think I detect in your voice a Queens accent. Did you grow up in Queens?
No, not at all. I was I have a mixture now. It used to be a lot better than this, but I grew up in Spanish Harlem.
Oh, really? I grew up in the Bronx. I was in Soundview Avenue. Between St. Lawrence and Soundview on the number 6 train line, right there on Crows Avenue.
6 train, that's exactly it, the 6 train. They're expanding, and now they've been expanding for ages, but the 2nd Avenue line, I mean, they're finally building that, and things are collapsing all around. I don't know. I mean, it took them this long to finally build a 2nd Avenue.
Yeah, I heard about that, and they say that those apartments over there are going to go through the roof when they finish when they put in those subway stations.
Absolutely, because it's right there.
Right, okay.
Then, and on 2nd Avenue, all up and down, it's just going to be right there. So for people who come to Manhattan, that's exactly it. Transportation's it. You don't worry about getting into a car.
Yeah.
It's 24/7.
Yeah, I didn't learn to drive till I was 25 years old. Okay. But now let me ask you this now, because first I got one question for you. Now, when you become the ambassador of rock,
yes.
Will you have like diplomatic immunity and those kind of diplomat plates and stuff?
I wish. I doubted it. It's always reserved for the diplomats, and that is not me.
But you gotta be excited about this, right?
I am excited. I'm very honored by this. When they approached me and they wanted to give it to me, they called me up. I was really, as the Brits would say, I was chuffed by that. It was amazing. A lot of people don't realize I've been in this business, in the music business, for so many years. I started a long time ago. I started before I met Mr. Lennon. So it was great.
Oh, and now one more thing though. At this Ambassador of Rock Award at the rockersonbroadway.com, who else is being honored that night? Did I see Deborah?
Deborah Gibson. I love Deborah. And I'm really sorry that her drummer, who's now Billy Amendola, who is an associate editor of Modern Drummer magazine, he happens, of course, the two of us, me and Deborah, are getting the award, and he happens to be doing work, and he's out at the Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp out in L.A., so he's upset. So he says, I can't believe I'm out there while you girls are here. I said, well, better luck next time for something else. But, hi, Billy. That's all I can say. And Chris, his wife. Yes, Deborah is receiving a Lifetime Achievement Award, and, she's great. I saw Deborah last year when we were both at Chiller Convention, the Chiller Theater Convention, and she was in another room. I went to see her. It was great. Known her for a while.
So if people come to this award ceremony, what can they expect? Drinks and dancing, music, live music?
They're going to see a show by all these Broadway actors. A lot of them are Broadway actors, and they're going to be singing. And the theme this year is 80s Rewind. So you can imagine. I don't even know what the program. I haven't been down there to see it. They're preparing. They're singing. They got it all down.
Well, that's great, man. Congratulations. The Ambassador of Rock. I have the Ambassador of Rock on my show. Okay.
It'll be fun. And, people, the money they raise gets donated to the Path Fund. It's for the performers and everybody involved in that needs the help. And
very cool.
it's a benefit.
Everybody needs help these days. Forget it.
Yeah.
Now,
and especially the people behind the scenes, you know, all the different people that help make things work, you know, in the entertainment world. It's all the different people, and you know, we all need help. This is not it's not as flush for everybody, and you know, whether it be their health, whether it be something else, you know.
Yeah, so many people in the artist community, they do it for the art, not for the pay.
It's a whole artist community, and it was started by Donnie Kerr. Donnie Kerr is one of the main people, and Donnie was an original performer for the Jersey Boys, and he was also in the movie.
Oh, get out of here. Okay, that's very cool. Okay.
Yeah. Love Donnie. He's great.
So, Madam Ambassador, my first question for you, okay, is I listened to all your interviews that are available on YouTube. Okay.
Oh gosh.
Yeah,
okay.
and let me tell you, this is good stuff. You're a historic figure. But they all start with you walking into it's Arnie Klein's office.
No, Allen Klein.
Allen Klein. Okay. So take us before that. Growing up, Maypang, growing up in New York City, what did your parents do for a living? What were you like as a kid? What were you hoping to do?
Well, you know, my parents. I'm the firstborn in this country. Both my parents are from China, and you know, my mother opened up a laundry, and you know, in the old days, the laundry was people would bring their shirts down, and you get, you know, to the Chinese laundry, and they send it out, get it ironed, and it come back in a brown paper wrapper, and you know, it's all done up nice. And my father did the same thing, but he did it at a factory. My mother and father couldn't work together. It was horrible. They were definitely mismatched. And then, you know, and I grew up, and my mother did not like to live in Chinatown. She felt that it was just too dirty. And it still is. It's still a filthy streets and everything at night. So, oops, whatever fell. Okay. So it just turned around that that's what went on, and I grew up in Spanish Harlem and Spanish Harlem.
So now, were you planning on going into the music industry? Probably not. Well,
you know what? Music saved me, and I say that all the time because music was one of those things where when my parents would argue or things when I was very young, I just like listening to music. And, you know, you had the radio, you had all these different people, you know, Cousin Bruce, he was on, sure. Murray the K, you know, and you, American Bandstand, Dick Clark. I mean, when I was able to, when I met him, I actually said that to him. I said, you know, American Bandstand saved my soul. I would come home from school and watch the show all the time. It was great. Just it really was a big part of my life. I didn't go out. I didn't fit in. I was like the only Chinese family, maybe two Chinese family in several miles, and you know, I didn't fit in with everybody else. They all thought I was a little nuts, you know, because I like music so much. But that was something I really loved, and it was great. It was wonderful, and to be to listen to that music, and I just always wanted to know who wrote the songs. So I was very into the songwriters, you know.
So then it was absolutely fate that when you walked into that building, because I heard the story, you went first to a Japanese bicycle store.
I know. I was, you know, in the early days they had, and I keep saying the early days, and it's because so much has changed, but they had agencies. So I quit college. And I went to this agency, and they said, "What could you do?" And I said, "Well, I could answer the phone." Wow. And that was about it. And it turned out that they sent me to this place. It was a Japanese bicycle company. Figured, well, with no, you know, I with no experience, I could at least answer the phone, take down a message. And I know that after I had the interview, I walked out of it, and I shook my head, and I said, I'm not going to get it. So I walked out, and I met my girlfriend. I told her where I was having my interview, and she was reading the directory, and she just happened to say to me, "You know what's in this building?" And I said, "What?" And she goes, "Apple Records." And I looked at her, I said, "Apple Records?" Beatles, Apple Records, that bell went off. And I looked at the directory, and sure enough, there it was, Allen Klein. I recognized the name, but I didn't really know who he was. And I saw Apple Records. So I immediately got into the elevator and went up to the 41st floor. And my girlfriend said to me, she goes, "Where are you going?" I said, "I'm going upstairs. I'm going to go and ask him for a job." And she said to me, "Are you crazy?" I said, "What is the harm? They're going to tell me yes or no. And if it's no, I'm no worse off than where I am right now." And that's how it started. And, and I went up there. And it was like, I think I had an angel watching over me, because the girl who was at the front desk said there were no job openings. And I stood there for a few minutes. And then just at that moment, these doors opened and all these people started coming out. And as I was waiting for the elevator, and she just happened to yell out, "This lady's looking for a job. Are there any openings?" And this guy turns around and says, "I might have something. Come back to me after lunch." And that's how it started.
Well, sure. They see this beautiful woman standing in front of them.
I don't think I was what they saw,
I've
my
seen the
glasses.
pictures.
I didn't look. I don't think I looked anything. Probably looked a little shy.
Every picture I've seen, you look beautiful. Okay. But now, what were you going to college for that you dropped out?
Retail marketing.
Really?
Yeah.
Another thing, too, that people must be shocked, because I know the first time I ever heard, it was about 2 years ago, when I first tried to get you on the show, and you promised to come on. It was 2 years ago. When I first saw you on YouTube, I was expecting you to have a thick accent like Yoko.
No, not me. I'm an American born. Yoko was born in Tokyo,
right.
So we're a little different here.
Yeah. So, but you just assume, John Lennon's girlfriend, his wife, they're both Asian. She's Chinese, this one's Japanese. You just assume, and
the assumption is always wrong.
Yeah,
that's the thing. I always tell you about that.
This thick New York accent, you sound like you're from
I do. I have
Mott Street.
I do have, and yet, when I was living in England, you would not have known that. I grew up, I went to Catholic school. The nuns used to beat that into you. It's over the years, and I realized that over the years when you talk to people in the business, a lot of them have this heavy New York accent. And I remember going to college, and it was in Brooklyn, and I would say certain words, and they'd go, "What?" And I realized, and I'm saying it, but what it was, they didn't recognize the accent. I had a very proper, New York, because I grew up with nuns, so they made you speak properly. So I didn't have this thick Brooklyn or Bronx accent, and so it was just kind of weird. And I started to change, because you end up speaking like everybody else out in the world.
No, I hear you. I grew up in a Catholic school, too, in the Bronx.
Yeah, you know how where did you go? Cardinal Hayes or someplace?
No, my sister went to Cardinal Spellman, and so did her husband. But because high school, I moved to Staten Island by high school, but in grammar school, it was Blessed Sacrament on Beach Avenue over there. Now, and
you know what it's like. The nuns will beat that into you. You can't, I don't say aunt. I say aunt. I don't say, there's certain words that they get you for, so that's how I was taught. So I don't, so it sticks with you.
So some of the worst fights in my life were with nuns, okay?
I know that one very well. And it turned out years later, where I went to grammar school, is where James Cagney was an altar boy at.
Oh, really?
Yeah. What happened was when he died, they did the whole wake and the funeral, and they were saying it. I remember I had my back, with the TV said, and I had my back to it. And they said, "Oh, he was an altar boy at St. Francis." And I thought, can't be. Just can't be mine. Cannot be. And I turned around, and there's the church. I recognized the front. And I'm like, oh, my goodness. And then there's a street where I used to live, and now it's James Cagney Way or James Cagney Place or something like that.
Very cool. You know that the Supreme Court Justice, I think Sotomayor, she went to my Blessed Sacrament, where I went to Blessed Sacrament Grammar School.
Blessed Sacrament,
Yeah.
sure. I mean, I remember all these schools. If people don't realize, in New York City, all these Catholic schools, and they would play. The girls would have. I went to all girls school, and they had. What is it? Basketball.
Intramural basketball.
We played against all these different Cathedral High.
Right.
Yeah, and the only reason I went to Catholic school was because that was the best school in the area, and my mother recognized that.
Yeah,
And
us too.
so
Yeah.
that's how I ended up going there.
The safest schools to go to,
Yes, and at that time, and believe me, by the time you graduate, I was, we were far ahead in reading and all these other things and all different subjects. And it was good. You know what? I look back and I think it's good.
Oh, yeah, we got through it, right?
Exactly. Without me, getting beaten up with the ruler on my hand.
Yeah. Now, you went to work over at Apple Records. Now, how many years were you working for John and Yoko as their assistant?
I would say by the time I moved them into, I got all the stuff. They found the apartment, and I started moving their stuff. I've been working with them for 3 years at that point.
Okay, so 3 years, and then the story is that, and you were living with them, right?
No. In Manhattan, I had my own apartment. I was, I worked very long hours, but no, I didn't live with them. No.
Well, wait a second, because now I heard you say that you started this job, you're making $90 a week. They gave you a
Yes.
huge raise that you could afford a place.
I got my own place. I had I remember Don saying to me, "You're still living at home?" I said, "Yes." He says, "Don't you think you should be getting your own place?" And I said, "Well," and I was at that point thinking, yeah, he's right. And my mother and I would argue a lot. And then, I loved my mother. But the thing was, there comes a point when nothing's agreeing. So I wanted to move out. My mother said, "Sure, go ahead." The minute I did that, she goes, "Why did you do that?" And I got my own apartment when I was.
How much was the rent?
When I was 21. And it was great. It was great feeling to be on my own. And, but it was, I was never there. I mean, when they moved into, the St. Regis Hotel in 71, it was strange because I couldn't go home. I was working till very late hours to the point that I had a room at the hotel, and I'm only 10 minutes from there. So it was you just never got home. And so I would wake up in the morning and my door, people would be knocking. We had the film crew because they were making the, what we call the Imagine film, besides you see the Imagine for the video for the song, but the actual film was called Imagine. So it's all these vignettes. And they were still filming and they were editing and filming and editing. And every morning I would get the knock on the door and I would get one of the film crew people. My room became the everybody, let everybody come in and just hang out. And I'm like, I would always tell everyone, can you just give me a break for a second? I got to get dressed. Nobody was letting me do my job.
And one of the answers, you got to get dressed at least, right?
I couldn't get dressed. I mean, I was still in my PJs. Everybody's knocking on the door. I would have 6 or 8 people in my bedroom, in that one room, for breakfast. And it's be like, nobody could wait. Can you order some food? Can you do, because they wanted to get ready and go in, and nobody would go to I was the one that would open the door, to the suite, and John and Yoko would be sleeping. So I would be the one to let everybody in. But I did not want to get anyone into that place until 10 o'clock.
Okay, now wait a minute. Now, you were enough of an assistant that you had access to their bedroom, walking in and out and stuff like that. So you saw them naked before you started doing
No, not their bedroom. They were in their own suite.
Okay.
This is in my bedroom. It's my room, my hotel room.
Okay. But
No, not them. No, they let's get that straight, Ed. That is not what I said.
I'm not putting words in your mouth.
No, they had their own suite. But what it was a 3-room suite. And one of the room was used for editing. Then we had a giant living room, and then they had their bedroom. That's the suite.
And they were staying at a hotel, the St. Regis.
Yes. This was in 1971.
Right. So was it expensive?
I would assume so. I did not look at the bills.
Okay, you weren't paying their bills?
No, not then.
Okay, then what were your daily activities? What was your daily duties for them?
Oh, God, that could be a list that could go a mile long. Every day was something different. I mean, I would have a list of things to do. You know, when I'd get in there, I would make sure everybody was, getting in and doing what they have to do. And then I make sure that at a certain time that they get their breakfast.
Right.
And make sure they get up. Phones would start ringing. You know, interviews would happen. Different things would go on, and everything was different. And then at that point, we were getting ready for her one-woman show up in Syracuse in 1971. So there was a lot of stuff to be prepared. And we were still filming for that Imagine film.
A couple of questions. Now, first of all, can we get that Imagine film anywhere now today if we want to see it?
It's cut up in various forms. It's in different forms now. So it could be, it's under different titles, and it's now in snippets of, it's not the one length that it used to be. It would have been, the original concept was, it was all these vignettes done to the album Imagine, and to her album Fly.
Right, I heard about that. Yeah.
So the two albums, and they have vignettes for each of those songs. So that's what had been the whole Imagine film. And they was constantly still, as they were editing, they were still filming. So I mean, when we were staying at the hotel, and I'm a very lucky girl in this case, I got to meet Fred Astaire.
Very cool.
I met Jack Palance. So, they were in the film. Dick Cavett. I saw, one night we had Bob Dylan and George Harrison come over, so, it's all these people in and out. So every day was something different.
And you're only around 21 years old.
Yeah, getting ready to be 21. And then we had, and in between we had the recording. John decided he wanted to do this new song that he had written called Happy Christmas, War is Over. He wanted to go into the studio, how to book the studio, how to get the musicians in, how to do all that. And then, and it was fun. And Phil Spector came in, and because he was a co-producer of it. And when the original one on the 45s, when they had those sleeves, there was a picture, and we got, the photographer was Ian McMillan, who I became very close and was a good friend. Ian was the photographer that took the iconic photo of Abbey Road.
Oh, really?
Yes. So it was great. Ian and I would just sit down and laugh when we had a moment for break, because we worked so hard on so many different things, and we just go hysterical. After a while, you just go. As some of my friends would say, doolally. We just go off.
But when the phone would ring, you were the one handling the phones between John Lennon and Yoko Ono and the world.
Yes.
No one got through you?
No.
Okay, amazing. A 21-year-old kid with a gatekeeper for John and Yoko Lennon.
That's what they wanted.
Well,
that's what they got.
And just think about what you learned. See, you don't realize what you.
Yes, no, and that's the thing that most people don't realize is how much you do learn. It was an on-the-job training, and believe me, I got plenty of that. I had so many different hats on because when we did the one-to-one concert. We had Dan Richter. We had a few assistants. I may not be, but at the hotel, I was basically the only one there. Everybody else was out and about. I'm the one stuck in the hotel. Gotcha. But there was Dan Richter, who was he was the head of most of the assistant. He was the one they relied on for other things, and he would live in England, and he would come in and whatever else. And he said to me, he says, at the Garden, you're going to be the one that's handling the backstage area. And I said, what? the backstage area. What am I supposed to do here? He says, you take care of whoever's tickets and all the important people that have to come through and, give them their passes, and you deal with it. That's up to you. And as I was dealing with that, trying to get everybody to give me their list and who was on their list and who was in the band, because there was so many bands going on. In between, John and Yoko wanted me to go to their hotel room to make sure that they were okay. And then after that, I would come back, and when they were doing their last song, Give Peace a Chance, I remember John saying, he turned to me and he goes, "Oh, man, you're going to have to get on stage too." I said, "But I'm backstage." He goes, "I don't care. You've got to be on stage and sing with the rest of us."
Oh, cool.
So it was a little bit of everything, and you had to make it work.
Now, when you were that key, playing that key of a role, how much were you getting paid then? Not still $90.
I think I was making 130.
Amazing.
Something like that.
What a different world,
Yeah, I know. That's not a lot. It wasn't a lot. My perks were definitely being able to eat what I want. You could order up whatever you want. And I got a car service to take me home.
Yeah, but just imagine, if you or me wanted to hire an assistant like that, at that level, you'd have to pay them $70,000 a year they get nowadays,
I know. It's a total different thing. And you don't get, you're not getting overtime. That doesn't work. It's not one of those type of things. So, but I will say I learned the best part about this was on the job experience, and you learn a lot. And, here I was juggling, making sure that everybody got their tickets, whoever was supposed to get tickets. And these two people came up to me and they said, "Our names are supposed to be on the guest list." And I'm like looking at them going, like, wait in line with everybody else, but who are you? And they go, and you always try to be nice. You can't have attitudes. And that's the one thing that I noticed in this day and age. Everybody has an attitude. Yeah. You can't have that. So I said, what's your name? And they go, "Bobby and Maria Shriver."
Oh my God.
And I said, "Oh." And now I said, "Can you wait a second now? Let me check." I ran back there and I said, nobody gave me their names. And I was screaming at whoever was on the inside, and I'm going, can't believe it. Now I had to juggle and try and figure out how I could get tickets to give to them for their seats that nobody gave me. So everything was allocated. So now I was pulling things back and forth, Like I said, it was an experience of a lifetime, and learning, and that's how you do things. And most people that I know nowadays, they come they want them in college. Yeah, but you know what? College would never have taught them what I have as knowledge. Never.
Madam Ambassador, we need to take a commercial break. It'll be 3 minutes, okay? And we'll be right back with more of May Pang, John Lennon's Lost Weekend. I'm calling her Madam Ambassador because she's winning being honored with the Ambassador of Rock Award at La Poisson Rouge at 158 Bleeker Street, New York. You can get your tickets at rockersonbroadway.com. We'll be right back with more of a historic...
Most weight loss plans are one size fits all, not taking into account each person's individual needs. Noom is here to change that. Noom Weight uses psychology. That's why they say losing weight starts with your brain. But it also takes into account your unique biological factors, which also affect weight loss success. The program helps you understand the science behind your eating choices and why you have cravings. Everyone's journey is different, so your daily lessons are personalized to you and your goals. One of the great things about Noom is that it's nourishing instead of restrictive. They focus on progress instead of perfection. You don't have to give up carbs, or anything for that matter. Have cravings? Food FOMO? Noom can help you lose weight while still enjoying your favorite foods. To date, Noom has helped more than 5.2 million people lose weight. Stay focused on what's important to you with Noom's psychology and biology-based approach. Sign up for your trial today at Noom.com. That's Noom.com.
Oracle figure, May Pang. It's not funny. And now a word from our sponsors. Pacific West Bamboo, your premier source for sustainable building material. They provide construction-grade and craft-grade bamboo material for all your indoor, outdoor, and gardening needs. Contact them for event planning and display building as well. 503-839-8126. Or you go to their new website, pacificwestbamboo.com. Or you can contact them on Facebook at Pacific West Bamboo. That's 503-839-8126. Amanda from Pacific West Bamboo was our first sponsor. She's been so good to us, so please support her in return. I want to make everybody aware of our new members section at www.oppermanreport.com. You can go there and sign up for a monthly, quarterly, or yearly subscription. You can even purchase episodes one by one. You get full access to brand new original content, new guests, new uncensored interviews, my own investigations and reports, and we're going to be adding sections with documents, images, police reports, either provided by myself or by my guests, or for my own investigations, my own reports. So you can go to oppermanreport.com and you can sign up there tonight. You can start listening tonight. Strawman. I want to mention Strawman. Strawman is a band out of Toronto, Canada. They're good friends of the Opperman Report. They're a trio of guys who share the same mindset most of us here do, and they put that energy into their words and music. So check them out at strawmanmusic.com and drop them a line to let them know that you heard them here on the Opperman Report. We'll be doing an interview with Sean Duffy soon. You can get an autographed copy of my book, How to Succeed as a Private Investigator, by visiting my PI website, emailrevealer.com. We also offer a computer and cell phone forensics. We can recover deleted text messages to uncover infidelity. We offer asset searches, locates, email tracing, background reports, and we can even trace your spouse's email address back to internet dating websites to catch them cheating online. You can reach us at 800-572-9762, or you can email me at emailrevealer@aol.com. New World Mexican Women. Everyone loves the New World Mexican Women, and their line of fine, handcrafted, authentic Mexican jewelry of stone mosaic and abalone stone inlay. In their first book, titled New World Mexican Women, available on lulu.com, they teach you how to make this jewelry, and they have a collection of love letters to their men from their hometown that have immigrated to the United States to find work. They have also published a new book entitled Azuquina to the Rodeo. It's about a young girl that falls in love with a rodeo bull rider, and she runs away with him without telling her family. You can find the New World Mexican Women by Googling New World Mexican Women. And you can ask them about their deals on wholesaling their fine jewelry and all of the other projects that they have going on. If you'd like to have your business or website advertised here and promoted all over the world on dozens of stations every day, give us a call at 800-572-9762 or email oppermanreport@gmail.com. And now back to our show. Have you heard about chaga mushrooms? It's a mushroom that grows way up in the northern forests. Native Americans and Russians have been using it for hundreds of years. It's not the kind of mushroom you eat, but you make a tea with it, and it's loaded with polysaccharides and other unique phytochemicals. And it's supposed to be very delicious, too. You wouldn't guess you were drinking mushroom tea. The folks over at MichiganMushrooms.net have been harvesting chaga for years, and they have built a great reputation for having the best quality mushrooms for the best prices. These guys are recognized as experts in the field of mushrooms. Check out and like their Facebook page, Michigan Mushroom LLC. And we are back with the Opperman Report. I'm your host, Ed Opperman, and we have with us tonight Madam Ambassador May Pang, the Ambassador of Rock. Madam Ambassador, have you ever tried chaga mushrooms?
No, I haven't. It sounds interesting, though.
I'm going to get these guys to send you some, okay?
I would love it. I mean, I really would.
I had a feeling you would. I almost assumed that you would have heard of it. It's a mushroom tea, and I'm definitely going to have these guys send you some.
Oh, great. I'd love to try it. Absolutely.
That way I get your address and I can stalk you.
Great. Good.
I'll get you back on here before 2 years, that's for sure. Okay.
Oh, gosh.
Now, the next... I'm going to get arrested tonight. Now, the next big event, I would guess, is when you started seeing that there was trouble in their marriage.
Well, you when you're with people for a great length of time, you see they don't get along on certain things, and you just don't say anything. I mean, it's just part of their whatever goes on in their life. When I go home, when I do get to go home, when it is a normal 10 to 6 hour day, and you leave, you're just happy to go home because I don't want to take their problems with me. It doesn't work. And any of us that were working in the house, we could all feel it, but we don't say anything. You just, it's not our place. So, and then it's brought to light one morning when Yoko approaches me to say that they were having problems. In the house? Yeah, because at that point we were in the Dakota, and she came into my office, and she says, "I want to talk to you." And I'm thinking, oh, she already has things for me to do, and it's only 9:30 in the morning, and I haven't even had my first cup of coffee yet. So I'm thinking, oh goodness, and she started off by telling me, she goes, we're John and I not getting along. And I said, I'm sorry to hear that. And she says, you know what? You don't have a boyfriend. I said, that's okay. I said, I'm not looking to go out with, by that point, remember, I've been with him for 3 years. The last thing I'm thinking about is going out with somebody. And especially John Lennon never even crossed my mind. So it was kind of a weird thing. And, it really was a whole other world for me. It was very surrealistic, especially at 9:30 in the morning. So yeah, I could imagine. Now, and I wasn't. Now here's the thing. I want people to understand. Yeah. Everybody, because the way my original book was written, it gives you the impression that whatever she said, whatever Yoko said, I should do, and that's not exactly how it happened. So it went differently. It was more. At the end, it was John who chased after me, and then that's because I wouldn't go. Okay. It was just not something I wanted to do. What was the time period between the time she came to you and said, "Hey, I want you to date my husband," and that he started, you two started feeling an attraction for each other? I think when he started to chase after me was a few weeks because I refused to go. It was just we were working on an album. I'm thinking to myself, this is almost as it's almost as insane about trying to. She was designing these clothes with cutout stuff, and cut out parts, and it was insane because she says, "Oh, I want you to model them for me." And then when you see these, what she has on, I'm thinking, I'm not doing this. So I used to put the drawings that she had as the bottom of the list of things to do. Okay. Were there a lot of things like that with Yoko? A lot of projects she had that were just kind of just like the Fly on the Naked Woman. Well, the Fly on the Naked, that was the first time I had ever worked with her on something like this. And, the first one was, of course, Up Your Legs Forever, where she wanted 365 pairs of legs, and they were to be donated for peace. So here I am as she gives me her phone book, and she says, "Tell them you're my assistant, and that you want them to donate their legs for peace." And I'm calling up people like Jasper Johns, the famous artist, or Jackie Kennedy, or Andy Warhol, and people like that. And I'm sitting there, I'd like to have them donate your legs for peace, please. There was a whole thing I was talking, and then the next. I didn't even do it. I did not want to, because it was kind of funny because after a while we were recruiting people even off the street. We had different people. I was upstairs on the phone. Somebody was downstairs on the street. And when some people realized that they were actually going to be filmed with John and Yoko in the room. I mean, they didn't just take off, the bottom part. They went, they went the whole hog. They went all nude. And when we didn't get 365, they were looking like, who didn't do it? I ran.
Okay.
I wasn't in. I'm much more of a prude than most people would think. And then we had this movie that she won. These were two short documentaries that Yoko had come up with. And the next one was Fly, and it's following a fly around a nude woman's body. So I had heard later on, I had dismissed this, but I had heard this from someone that said, oh yeah, the person they were considering to lay down nude was you. And I'm looking at it and says it would never have happened. No.
Now, how long is that movie?
How long? The movie?
The film, yeah.
I don't know, because the first time it went out, because it went out for the Avant-Garde Film Festival, because it was all done in a matter of 3 weeks, roughly. That's how fast it was. It was shooting it, editing it, and showing it. It was like 3 weeks. And I think the movie, The Fly, I think originally they cut it down from an hour and a half to 45 minutes. I think I saw the 45 minutes. I think now we have like a 20-minute version of it out there. I think it's about there.
It still must be tough to sit through.
Oh, well, you got to think. You got all these flies. And we did this in the dead of winter. So they had gotten a whole bunch of flies in from, laboratories that, I guess, grow them. I have no idea. And all these experimental flies come in, and half of them are dead, and it's winter. And whatever healthy fly was around, we're trying to capture and not let it go. And then we got a couple of college students to go and help out, and let's go into the Chinese restaurant and see if there's any out there. And, we did a whole bunch of things. And I'm friends with, one or two people that are still from back in the day, the students.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. I try to remain friends with a lot of people.
I heard that in the interviews, and I can understand it now, because you've been talking off the air. You're very personable, very talkative, very easy to get along with. Because I was a nervous wreck, to tell you the truth, to do this show. Now, I got a couple of questions for you. Now, there was an incident. First of all, Yoko's history back in Japan. Okay, she went to a college where she was like the only female student.
Oh, I have no idea, because I really didn't know her then. The only thing I do know is that she came to Sarah Lawrence to go to school here. So I have no idea.
Now, what about, you never heard that she had a depression and was put in a mental institution?
I did hear something of that back then, but, when you're working, everything comes at you, and you can only... If you saw the pace we were working at, none of that, you can't really go into it, if you know what I mean. It was just more like every day was just, you just got to keep moving. So and those things are just in the wind. You just got to keep moving.
So there was never a time when you said, oh my God, this woman's crazy. And someone said, hey, yeah, she was locked up.
You can't. You just don't have time. Okay. I mean, I literally didn't have time. From the time I got in to get my first cup of coffee, that's why I said I tried to get in early, to just sit down in my office, to take a deep breath, get the coffee in, and then to start. And sometimes it'd be like 13 hours of the day, and before I get a chance to get home. And it's a long, it's a long day. And I just want to go home and sleep. But, my phones do not stop ringing. They could ring if I get home like at 3 o'clock. It's happened a few times when I got home like at 3 o'clock in the morning or 3:30, and my phone was ringing by the time I hit, just before I go to sleep.
Like you're walking in the door, you can hear it ringing right there, waiting for you.
Exactly. Yeah. So to me, can you imagine if I had a cell phone? Yeah. Oh goodness.
Well, we were lucky back in those days.
In one sense, we were lucky because I remember having the one day off, and I was wondering just to get, you do your laundry, get your clothes washed, things like that. And I remember going into my friend's restaurant which I introduced them to, which is Home Restaurant. And I walked in, and they said, Yoko's looking for you. I'm like, oh, my God. So I said, you didn't see me. I just need some time off. And it was, and it wasn't because I hated it. It was just that I needed the moments to do your own personal stuff that you need to do, when your clothes are piling up in the corner and, you need to shop for some groceries, things that, you need to do. That's what I was doing.
Now, there was an incident with John and Yoko where Yoko had given up custody of her kids to her first husband.
Right.
Now, were you involved with them with that whole situation where they kind of picked up the kids at school and they kept them and there was like a little custody battle going on?
I really came in a tail end. I was not really involved in it. I knew when they were out and about and looking before Kyoko. I mean, before that happened, I had met Tony Cox once, and it was, I try to stay. Those are things that belong to the lawyers. Right. I try not to be involved in it. It's too messy.
So, but that Tony Cox, that guy, he actually went into hiding for like 20 years. I don't even know how long because I know that Kyoko's around. Oh, she is.
I know that Yoko sees her. So I don't know.
Okay, that's very interesting because I heard that she was kind of like in hiding still.
No, she isn't. There's pictures of her, and she went when they had that play. I guess it was called Imagine. I keep using it. The Imagine play that was out on Broadway. I mean, she went to the opening.
Now, what about Elliot Mintz? Did you ever run into him?
Yes.
Okay. Well, what do you?
I don't think. Let me put it this way. I don't think I'm one of his favorite people on his list.
Okay. But he seems to have become.
He was around. I mean, yeah. I remember when he met John and Yoko back in like 71 or so, and doing interviews because it was for her one-woman art show, and she did a lot of press.
Do you think he was closer to John or Yoko?
Yoko.
Okay, because he seems to have become a very rich and powerful man.
Yes, I hear.
Yeah.
But it really was more. He was really more Yoko, not so much John.
Okay.
He never represented John.
Right. And now, did you meet him when you went to California with John?
No, I met him before that.
In New York.
Yeah.
During just being the assistant and being.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Now you become John's girlfriend, I guess. Right. What was the first date like? When the first.
You know what? It's funny. It's because it was so low key.
Right.
We were trying to finish up the album, so really no real date, as it were. We really weren't. We'd be sitting in the studio, and you see the shift in the studio. I mean, I tried to deflect a lot of things. I didn't really want this. And I'd be sitting at the chair doing something, and all of a sudden I would feel his hands, giving me a massage around my neck, and I would just sit there. I go, oh, no. And you can see everybody looking, and they're trying not to look. And I'm, like, now embarrassed because I don't know what to do with myself.
Yeah, it's an awkward situation because he's kind of still your boss in a way, Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, but let me make it clear. Once I was really going out with him and we really were dating or living together, he was not my boss.
I get you. Now, listen, I've dated employees, and it's a difficult.
No. I was not being paid. Yeah. Just like because there's a lot of inferences that people thought that I was still getting. I wasn't.
I understand exactly what you're talking about. But now the thing is, too. Now again, in that little interim period, Yoko comes to you, she approaches you with this crazy idea, and you say, "Oh my God," and then you start having feelings for each other. Was he dating other girls during that period of time that you saw?
No, he wasn't.
So he wasn't like a big, heavy,
no,
group
not at all.
No.
He didn't go out with anybody else.
Really, the whole time between Yoko and you, he never even dated another woman.
No, when he approached me, see, I wouldn't go off, and I kept telling her I'm not doing it. And then it was John who later on said, "You know what? If she's going to keep doing this and we're not getting along," he says, "I'm just going to go for it." So it was just me and him.
Now, who was Yoko dating?
She liked this other musician. And it was only later, and I noticed it during her sessions, but I never thought it was really going to be the one. But yes, she liked this other guy.
So you think that was her plan all along? Like she wanted to go with this other guy, so she just.
I mean, I think only in retrospect that I could say that. Yeah. Because
women do that.
Yeah, and it was just kind of an interesting and and a lot of people in a lot of the musicians that were around knew.
So now you and John, you have this romance now, right? And how long until you started feeling like, okay, we love each other?
You know what? It wasn't until we were actually. I guess for me, it was longer. I guess it wasn't until we were actually in Los Angeles and he wanted to have a start. And here's another correction. No, Yoko did not send us to L.A. What had happened was Yoko was out of town, actually. And John's lawyer was in town and going over some stuff, and he was from L.A. And he said to him, when are you going back? And he goes, this evening. He goes, really? And then he just looked at me and he says, he turned to his lawyer and says, well, we're going to get on the plane with you. So we got on the plane. So I had to run home. I said, we're going to LA. So now I had to run home, pack and come over and get on a plane with, we were traveling back to LA with his lawyer. And we had, these people, Norma and Peter. Peter, was in a band, an acoustic band with Spencer Davis. I think you know who Spencer Davis is. Give Me Some Lovin', that guy.
I do now, yeah.
Yes. Yeah, so Spencer, he was in an acoustic band with him.
Okay.
So that was Peter and his girlfriend, Norma. And Norma worked over at United Artists as an A&R person. And the two of them were picking John's lawyer up. And he called them up and said, we'll be picking two other people up. And he said, okay, not knowing who it was. And when we got off the plane, I think they almost fainted when they saw it was us.
And where'd you stay that first night? In a hotel?
We said, no, we didn't stay at a hotel. The lawyer wanted us to stay at his place, a nice little modest place in West Hollywood. So we stayed there. He said, it's okay. He goes, you could stay here. And he goes, I got other places to stay. So he let us have his place.
Now, and that was the beginning of the quote-unquote lost weekend?
Well, you know what? Quote-unquote, it would be...
Yeah, 18 months.
We only call that at the end. It's not something... Because John got tired. And, he was saying to me, he goes, I'm getting tired of people asking me so many questions. I'm just going to say this. And he told me that, so... and it was based on, Ray Milland.
Right. Right. Yeah. Oh, real quick, though, before I forget, because I'm a little out of sequence here. Now, John and Yoko met at the Indica Art Gallery in London. Did he ever talk to you about that?
No, we didn't really talk about that. Because you know what? Would you go and talk about your past relationships really with most of the time you find out, and I was working for them anyway, but he didn't really go and talk about.
Yeah, I try not to, but usually when you're in a relationship, that the women bring it up, to tell you the truth. It's the women who get into all that stuff.
No. I mean, would you bring it up? Come on.
No, I definitely don't.
Would you bring that up with your wife? I mean, come on. Oh, listen, I don't know. Did you? I mean, that's a good question. Did you?
No, when I'm dating a new girl, I definitely don't bring it up, but it comes up. Someone else is bringing it up.
Well, it didn't come up in my case.
Okay, very good. I'll start dating you then. Now, you're married now, right?
No.
Oh, you know, really?
No, I'm a single girl.
And how old are your kids?
They're old. They're in their 20s now.
Okay, that's still pretty young.
So, in fact, the last one left the house not that long ago, and yes, I am now a single lady, and it's fun.
I got you.
Now I got to get myself in order and get myself, thinking. It was only a couple of months ago that I became this single person, and now I have to redo my life again.
Well, perhaps you'll meet a diplomat, being an ambassador now of the United Nations.
That's right.
Secretary General.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard enough. I mean, it really is hard enough to meet somebody. Because John once said, he goes, the problem that I'm going to run into, and at the time I didn't realize it, was the fact that everybody is going to try and measure up to John. And he said, I wish that wouldn't happen, because it really does create the problem for you. And I said, no fooling. Okay. And he's right. He was right about that.
Oh, yeah. I could imagine that. Forget
and
that.
Everybody gets, you get guys that get intimidated. I really wish I'm just a person, and, for whatever it is. But I know he's larger than life.
Yeah. Now, but before you went to California again, now when you were in New York, you guys were hanging out with the Yippies, Jerry Rubin, David Peel, those kind of guys?
Not me, if I could help it.
Yeah, I know.
Yes, he did hang out. You have to understand, someone just asked me a question on Facebook, and they said, what one book would describe John? And I said to him, no one book can really describe John, because John was different in every relationship. I said, as an example, with Yoko, he was more into the political field. He was, because I was working, I saw the Yippies. I mean, I knew Jerry Rubin and Abby Hoffman and Rennie Davis and, you name it. I met them. I met, it's funny, Angela Davis, Bobby Seale, people you read about in history. Yeah. I've met them. And, that wasn't my taste in a relationship. That's the last thing I'm thinking about is let's go to a rally, unless it's really important. I'm not thinking about doing political rallies. For me, it was for me and him. We talked about music, and that was the most important thing for me. It's music.
But while you were with John in New York, he was hanging out with some of these Yippie guys, right? Like A.J. Weberman and David Peel, right?
Yeah, that was like I said, that was with Yoko's period. That was with Yoko's time period. My period was Elton John, David Bowie, Mick Jagger, George Harrison, Paul, Ringo, Harry. So, Mickey Dolenz, Alice Cooper. I had a whole different crowd.
Okay.
So you could choose. I don't know if I want to, that was more my crowd. We would go Chuck Berry, we go we go and hang out and listen to good music. So, the A.J. Weberman and no disrespect to him, because, I know he's a friend on my Facebook, but the Yippies and all that, that was a period that was more, in his relationship with Yoko, not with me.
But during your relationship with John, the FBI surveillance continued, right?
Well, they did. I think it was less of it. It was still there because we were going. It was not. I don't think it was as full force, but it was still there because we weren't in situations like that. We weren't hanging out with people that were causing. We were more into the music. That's what the difference was. We were making more music. And during our time, John did more music than in his solo career than any other time. I mean, he wrote songs and he gave it to Johnny Winter. He had another song. He gave it to Keith Moon. We jammed with Jagger, which I had. It was funny. I read an interview where they had. They said. Somebody had the tape for Mick Jagger. It was Too Many Cooks, and some record exec found it. I had it. They got it from me because I kept it. Because John did. He mixed two versions, and I had one of them on me, so they got one of the versions from me so that he could put it on his solo album. And then we did one where, and it was great because. There was Jack Bruce, it was Al Cooper, it was, Bobby Keys and Trevor Lawrence and so there was a bunch of people that were in there and we did the rock and roll album. We did the Walls and Bridges, which was John's only number one single that garnered an only number one single with a number one album in his lifetime. And that album, as I was telling somebody, is the only album, originally it was he produced it himself, no co-production of any sort. It was really him. And I got to sing on Number 9 Dream, and he wrote a song for me as well, and it was great.
What was the song he wrote for you?
Surprise, Surprise, Sweet Bird of Paradox.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Yeah, I tell you, you've been a part of history. You've been a part of history. May Pang.
Well, this is the one thing I would love for, because I love to give people a feel of what this was like, especially the music side of things, because watching them. And I actually participated in the last jam that John and Paul had together. I played tambourines with Mal Evans, and Linda played Hammond organ, and Stevie Wonder and whatever. And, and I have this history. I would love to pass on the knowledge. And this is one of those things I would love to do talks at, in universities, and that because they do give Beatle, courses or music courses. And I would love to do that type of seminar and talk in the universities because, I did the production work. And it was good fun. I used to have a great time doing that, booking the sessions, booking the studio, getting the orchestra, listening to everything. And, it was a lot of fun. John and I used to listen to all of that together.
You must have a great sense of satisfaction, for all you were part of creating there.
Absolutely, and it's fun. It was an important part of my life. And, when I hear songs, and especially when you hear Number 9 Dream and you hear me whispering, every once in a while I hear it and it just sort of freaks me out that it is me that's on the radio.
I can imagine. Yeah. That must blow your mind.
Yeah, it does. So.
Okay, Madam Ambassador, we have to take another commercial break.
Okay.
We have with us May Pang, the longtime girlfriend of John Lennon, produced many of involved with these rock and roll albums. Was there when Phil Spector's pulling out a gun, shooting into the ceiling. This woman's been part of history. Oh my God! She's been nominated. She's being honored with the Ambassador of Rock Award at La Poisson Rouge at 158 Bleeker Street this Monday night, November 9th. You can go there in person and watch this happen. 7:30 p.m. You can get your tickets at rockersonbroadway.com. We'll be back with more of May Pang after these messages. And now a word from our sponsors. Pacific West Bamboo, your premier source for sustainable building material. They provide construction-grade and craft-grade bamboo material for all your indoor, outdoor, and gardening needs. Contact them for event planning and display building as well. 503-839-8126. Or you go to their new website, pacificwestbamboo.com. Or you can contact them on Facebook at Pacific West Bamboo. That's 503-839-8126. Amanda from Pacific West Bamboo was our first sponsor. She's been so good to us, so please support her in return. I want to make everybody aware of our new members section at www.oppermanreport.com. You can go there and sign up for a monthly, quarterly, or yearly subscription. You can even purchase episodes one by one. You get full access to brand new original content, new guests, new uncensored interviews, my own investigations and reports, and we're going to be adding sections with documents, images, police reports, either provided by myself or by my guests, or for my own investigations, my own reports. So you can go to oppermanreport.com and you can sign up there tonight. You can start listening tonight. Strawman. I want to mention Strawman. Strawman is a band out of Toronto, Canada. They're good friends of the Opperman Report. They're a trio of guys who share the same mindset most of us here do, and they put that energy into their words and music. So check them out at strawmanmusic.com and drop them a line to let them know that you heard them here on the Opperman Report. We'll be doing an interview with Sean Duffy soon. You can get an autographed copy of my book, How to Succeed as a Private Investigator, by visiting my PI website, emailrevealer.com. We also offer a computer and cell phone forensics. We can recover deleted text messages to uncover infidelity. We offer asset searches, locates, email tracing, background reports, and we can even trace your spouse's email address back to internet dating websites to catch them cheating online. You can reach us at 800-572-9999. 9762, or you can email me at emailrevealer@aol.com. New World Mexican Women. Everyone loves the New World Mexican Women, and their line of fine, handcrafted, authentic Mexican jewelry of stone mosaic and abalone stone inlay. In their first book, titled New World Mexican Women, available on lulu.com, they teach you how to make this jewelry, and they have a collection of love letters to their men from their hometown that have immigrated to the United States to find work. They have also published a new book entitled Azuquina to the Rodeo. It's about a young girl that falls in love with a rodeo bull rider, and she runs away with him without telling her family. You can find the New World Mexican Women by Googling New World Mexican Women. And you can ask them about their deals on wholesaling their fine jewelry and all of the other projects that they have going on. If you'd like to have your business or website advertised here and promoted all over the world on dozens of stations every day, give us a call at 800-572-9762 or email oppermanreport@gmail.com. And now back to our show. Have you heard about chaga mushrooms? It's a mushroom that grows way up in the northern forests. Native Americans and Russians have been using it for hundreds of years. May Pang is about to try it. It's not the kind of mushroom you eat, but you make a tea with it that is loaded with polysaccharides and other unique phytochemicals. It's supposed to be very delicious, too. Now, you wouldn't guess you were drinking mushroom tea. The folks over at MichiganMushrooms.net have been harvesting chaga for years, and they have built a great reputation for having the best quality mushrooms for the best prices. These guys are recognized as experts in the field of mushrooms. Check out and like their Facebook page, Michigan Mushrooms LLC, and their website, MichiganMushrooms.net. And you can find a link to their website on OppermanReport.com and also on the blog spot, OppermanReportblogspot.com. Also, you can find links to all of May Pang's books. I got 3 of her books up there. And also to a link to this Rockers on Broadway, so you can pick up your tickets tonight before they sell out. Madam Ambassador.
You love doing that to me. Okay.
I love that you put up with me.
Oh, my goodness.
I figured this would go a half hour and you'd hang up on me. Okay, great. Thank you.
I think I could hang.
I know.
I think I could get there.
Thank you so much for putting up with me.
So,
wait,
now, don't forget to send the mushroom tea to me. I want to try this.
I promise you, I'm going to hand deliver it. Have you ever filed for your Freedom of Information Act regarding your FBI file? What might have gone on while you were John?
I never did.
Okay.
I never did.
Okay.
So I've never looked at it. But with us, like I say, it was a total different thing.
Right.
We were just hanging out with musicians. We were. I went to places. The 2 of us. Mick Jagger and his wife, his then wife Bianca, said, "Oh, come on, come and hang with us. We're going to this event. We're not even dressed for it. We go in, and with Mick, it was dressed, and it was to what has now become the oh God, I forgot the name. Oh, Diana Vreeland's. It was a Vogue party, which is now Anna Wintour's famous party. At the Metropolitan Museum." And then we ended up being driven out to the Hamptons that night to Montauk. So it's kind of it's quite interesting.
Whose home did you stay at the Hamptons?
Mick had rented Andy Warhol's home.
Okay. Now,
and so we were out there, and this is where John and I were on a boat, and we spotted this house, and it was an imitation Scottish type house. And it brought back some memories for John, obviously, growing up. And he says, "Oh, I love that. That house looks great." And it was on a cliff. And someone said, "Oh, that house is for sale." And he said, "It is?" And he goes, "I want to see it." So when we got out of the boat, we got a realtor to take us into the house. And it was really it was lovely. It was cozy. It was warm. It wasn't a big house. And I remember him looking at me because it was a thin galley kitchen. He looked at me and he said, "Do you think you could deal with the kitchen?" And I said, "Yeah." I mean, I'm thinking to myself, anything is bigger than what I have, like a kitchenette at home. So it didn't matter. So I said, "Sure." So he really wanted it. And so I think it was like a couple of weeks later, we ended up taking Julian and the lawyer out, and we were going to buy this house, out in Montauk.
Because when you and John were dating, he was pretty much living at your studio apartment.
No, we lived there only. Here's another. Okay. We were only there during the time in early '74 when we came back. Then we came back again when February we were there, and part of February we were there, and then we were staying at a hotel, and we were staying at my place, and we were staying in both places. And then when we came back from LA, we stayed there for a little bit, and then we found an apartment, and our apartment overlooked the East River, and it was great because it was called the penthouse apartment, and all it was a giant 1-bedroom, and we had a nice balcony, and we overlooked the East River, and this is where we had chairs set up so that he could sit at night and just watch the river. That reminded him of England.
And that's where you saw the UFO.
And that's where we saw the UFO. Exactly.
Okay. Now, you see this UFO. Give us the version. Give us the story of how you saw this UFO. You saw it first.
No, he did.
He saw it first. Okay.
He saw it first. We'd come back from the recording studio, and it's a Friday night in the summer, and August. Nobody's around, not especially on the street where we lived. It was ironic. We had Kissinger and all these people living across the street.
Did you see him?
No.
Okay.
No. You know who also lived a couple of doors over? Oh. What was it? That actress, the one that says "I want to be alone."
Marlene Dietrich.
Right.
Yeah. Oh wow.
No, not Marlene Dietrich. It wasn't Marlene Dietrich. It was another one.
Okay, but whatever.
Yeah. Something of that. Yeah, that type of actress. Anyway, yeah. So he was outside smoking his French cigarettes. He tried not to smoke in the house because I don't smoke, and so that French cigarette's a horrible smell. Sorry. Anybody who smokes that stuff, it really is horrible. Anyway, and it's summer and it gets stagnant. So he's standing outside. I'm trying to find some clothes to wear to greet the pizza boy because we ordered pizza. One good thing about Manhattan, you can just order and they come to you.
So true.
And all of a sudden I hear him yelling for me. And I said, yeah. I didn't even bother, to really run. And then finally I heard his voice again, really loud and very urgent. There was an urgency in his voice, And I said, "What?" He goes, "Now!" And I come running out. And as I said to him, "What do you want?" And I stopped mid-sentence, and I see this thing above our heads. And I'm just sitting there going, "What is this thing?" And I'm screaming, it's a UFO. Oh, my God. I could hear the noise below me. I could hear everything but this thing above my head. And I'm looking at John, and he says, "You're seeing exactly what I'm seeing." And what it is, we could see the underbelly of this flying object, and you could see the heat waves under it. Like when you're driving on the street, when it's hot.
And was it metallic or was it just a light?
No, it was metallic.
It was definitely metal.
Yeah.
Was there seams or bolts or anything you could tell?
No. I could see white lights going on and off around the rim. And I could see one red light on top, stable. And that was it. And it was very quiet. There was no sound coming out of it. And let me explain. There's somebody that's put out. Someone said that recently. John did a drawing of it because he didn't want to forget what it looked like. And recently I saw another drawing that they claimed that was John's. And I can tell you it doesn't look anything like how John drew the UFO, and I know he didn't draw another one.
Okay.
And so I looked at it, and it's just being sold, and they want to argue with me. That's fine, but I was there and they're not, and I know what John drew. They weren't there. So I'm just saying that. So it's out there.
Now, this object was very close to you too.
Yes, it was, and so I know exactly what was. What I saw, and it was just amazing because I could hear the street noise below me, but I couldn't hear this thing above me.
Now, do you think this could have been something from our military or our government or something like that?
We didn't have that because I could see it flying on its side. It went sideways at one point. I'm watching this thing. And no, I do not smoke. I do not take drugs. And, it was just one of those things that I'm like, oh, my God, I was screaming. I was hysterical. I was screaming so loud. And you would have thought my neighbor, no one was home. I'm screaming. It's a UFO. I'm on my balcony screaming. Not one person, not one light was in any. Because remember, it's a Friday. It's a Friday evening in August in the city. Nobody's home.
Well, what time was it? Because they're still delivering pizzas.
9:30.
9:30. Okay.
Yeah,
it's prime.
It was around 9 o'clock. So.
That's prime pizza delivery time. Now, also too. Now, was this the size of a car, a bus? How big? I
asked John what size he thought because I can't judge with sizes on that. On that one, he thought it was like a size of maybe because it was circular, maybe a size of a 2-man Learjet.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, and did you guys?
So that's what we saw, and then we had some people call and. Like different places, it's kind of, you say it's John Lennon scene, they'd say, oh yeah, he's nuts. What was he smoking? Right. But anyway, we had friends just call up and they would say, oh, in fact, Elliot Mincy, we told Elliot and Elliot said, did May see it? And John said, yes. He goes, could you put her on the phone? So anyway, and the reason he called me out was because I was his witness as well. I was John's witness.
Right.
Because they knew everybody would be asking if I saw it. So when they did do the phone calls, it turned out that several people had called the local police station further up the road by the river. We lived by the river in the 50s. And the people had started seeing it in the 80s by the river. So it was obviously coming down along that path. And so it was quite interesting. And, nobody called the New York Times. They called the Daily News and the local police station. But it wasn't enough to generate in the city big noise.
What was the length of time you were witnessing this object?
Probably, because it took its time, I would say somewhere between 10 and 15 minutes.
Okay. Now,
I saw it for a long time as I watched it go down the river. If you saw it from the... if you saw it from across the river or whatever, you would have thought this was another helicopter.
Right, but
nothing unusual.
But were there windows on it?
Not that I can see. Okay. Not that I can see. What I remember was as it was because you could see the heat wave, underneath, and as it was going down the river. Anybody could have mistaken for whatever. It could have been, like I said, another helicopter or whatever. And it was going very slow. And then it sat over this building called the Waterside Towers on 23rd Street. Sat there for the longest time. And I was just watching it. And I knew it was up there because I had been watching it going down the river. So I knew where it was. And it started to move over the bridge, and was, we're calling friends in Brooklyn. It might be coming your way. They go, what? I said, go out the window. Anyway, it was going over. I believe that would be the Williamsburg Bridge. As it headed over to the Williamsburg Bridge, it stood over it, and then all of a sudden, it just went straight up.
All right,
and that was it.
Now, you said you never used drugs.
No.
But John,
he wasn't using it that night.
Not that night. Yeah, apart from this incident.
I think you were going to say that. No. That's the
I
reason he was outside having a cigarette.
Right.
And I was inside. We were waiting for the pizza man. We were hungry.
No. I've listened to you describe this in detail on several interviews, so I have no doubt about your accuracy of what you're describing. But you mentioned about their drug use with John, so I'm just curious. Because some people say that he was using heroin and stuff. Was he ever using heroin?
No. Not during my time. See, this is where the time period everybody seems to think, no, he was not.
So, but was he ever using heroin?
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
But not during my time.
And who got him into that?
It's whatever was going on.
No one knows.
Well, he was with, in another relationship, not mine.
Gotcha. Okay. That's a shame. Now, but when he was with you, what was it, like marijuana?
He, you know what? He would actually take a puff or two just to bring him down if he went to the recording studio, because he would come home and he's hyper because he was still, coming from the studio. He'd take 2 puffs, put it out, like one joint could last him a week. That it was not a smoke. He was not a chronic smoker. It wasn't like he had to have it. So it was only like if he would go to the studio and he just wanted to relax and come down, after listening to being in the studio and being hyper, and that would be it.
Okay.
I didn't, because I was not one. In fact, I was called when I was out in LA. A lot of people and a couple of females would call me Miss Goody Two Shoes because I was not one to take drugs, and I didn't like it.
So besides the marijuana, it was just drinking then?
No, but even drinking, I'm a big. I was a poster girl for Coca-Cola. Believe me.
No, but I meant John though. Was John drinking a lot?
No, it only happened, and this is the thing. It only happened when he hung out with the boys out in L.A. It wasn't really happening in New York. He could have a drink here and it wouldn't affect him. But when you get together with the boys, how many people when you watch these games, or when they go out for a baseball game or a football game and they're out there drinking,
right? And
they get rowdy because they're with the boys. And that's really what it was. But people won't allow John to be a person, a human. That's the thing that people don't seem to get. He was human, and it's a shame because he was not a drunk like everybody thought, but everybody wanted to see him be somebody else,
like extremes. They wanted to.
Yeah, they were feeding him, and when John thought he could relax with some of these people, and I got angry because I felt like saying, "Hey, you guys, don't you know? I don't want you to start doing it." And they didn't like the fact that I always stepped in. I stepped in when I thought it was just going beyond where it should have been.
That John was drinking too much, and you were like being the party.
Yeah, because they wanted to see. It's like the dog and pony show. They wanted to see him go through this. And I'm going, no. He was the new kid on the block out in L.A.
Right. Now, another general question, too. What about jealousy, anger? Was it ever, like, physical?
Yeah, I know. People read that, yes. And a couple of times when he got physical. The original book had it worse than it actually was. And, when he got drunk, he didn't see what was going on. I mean, the next day it was like, it was night and day. He was like so apologetic. And it only happened a couple of times. And he was so apologetic and he couldn't believe that it happened.
But he got physical with you.
And Phil Spector, riled him up on an occasion that I couldn't even tell you.
But wait a second. John Lennon got physical with you?
Yeah, he grabbed me by my hair.
Oh, really? Okay. And why? What was he upset about?
I think he was upset about something that I think I was driving something, and instead it was just something that because he had his hand on my hair and it was easy. Okay. I guess I don't remember, but it's been so long.
I got you. Now, okay.
But it wasn't something where I was in danger. Let's put it that way. People want to make it more than it is, and it wasn't that way.
And also, it was a different time as well.
Yes.
Like now, any kind of contact.
I love when the boys like to rile everybody up, and then then of course, if he gets out of control, we better get him down. Well, hello, you're the one who got him there in the first place. So it didn't like the fact that I would be making, comments, and the guys didn't like it, especially, at one point. Phil Spector knew that I would be I was the gatekeeper. And in that sense that, not that he couldn't have fun, of course he could have fun. But if I saw that it was just going a little too out of whack, and for that it was going to be not a good thing. I stepped in and I said, at one point he wanted John to go somewhere, and I said, okay, I'm going to go with you. He goes, no, you're not going. He goes, you're not getting in the car with us. I said, yes, I am. He goes, no, you're not. And he had his bodyguard lift me up physically to remove me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, wait, were you surprised when Phil Spector wound up in prison?
No.
I don't think so either. Now, do you have any contact with him now?
No, I have none. I mean, you know what? To be clear also is that I don't think he did that on purpose. Yeah. It's a different, I don't think it's a premeditated and he used that. But the things that were, because he carried his guns, and John and I did not realize they were loaded. We thought they were blanks. We really did. And when he shot the gun off in the studio, everybody else was ducking, including Phil Spector's mom, who was in the studio. I'm running, the New York City kid decides I'm going to run towards it. So I run towards the sound. I open the door, and he's got the gun. And, and there's John with his finger in the air, and I'm the first one there. And he's going, Phil, if you're going to shoot me, if you're going to shoot me. But don't mess with me ears, And, he said some other words, but it was on that level. And then Mal Evans, God bless his soul, grabbed the gun out of his hand and he says, you shouldn't have this. And Phil's going, you can't tell me what to do. And I finally said, what's going on? And he's saying, they all said, they were just playing around, and Mal asked him not to do something, and he didn't like it. He backed up, pulled out the gun, and it went off. It could have killed somebody. Let's put it that way. It could have killed somebody. And of course, I said, is everybody okay? Everybody settled down. Yeah, everything's fine. We went back to recording. Next day, Mal came over and goes, well, here's the bullet from last night. And John and I looked at him and said, what bullet? We really had no idea. We thought nobody could be giving him real bullets. We thought it were blanks.
But Mal Evans was there as John's assistant bodyguard type?
No, he was there as the, like what he always did, to be the helper of whatever is needed at a session. If you're going to drive us down there, or John needed a guitar to be brought back, or, anything.
Gotcha. But my impression was that he worked mostly for Paul. No.
In the early days, he worked for all of them.
Okay.
And because he... we happened to be in LA. He was there. Ringo was there. And then when Ringo left, John was there. So he stayed, and, he worked for whoever was there.
What do you make of these stories you hear about Mal Evans and his death? He was shot by the police.
Yes. I happened to be away, and I got these phone calls when I got back about everybody's asking me about Mal, and I'm going, what's going on? And then I made these calls, and they were telling me that Mal was shot, horrifically, beyond recognition. I said, what are you talking about? They told me, and it was so sad, and it's still sort of a semi-mystery to this day, that, he locked himself in the room with his rifle, and the girlfriend that he had, his daughter was in there, but he had taken some pills and, downers, and he was out of it. I don't believe in my heart that he would have harmed the child, because he was a big teddy bear. But
he had a BB gun with him.
Yeah, it was I don't know what kind of gun it was. It was a gun that I know that I think the girlfriend gave it to him as a gift, some gift, right? From what I understand. But I really don't know the all this stuff. But it was just something that I guess when somebody takes that drug, you don't know what they're going to do. But in LA, you know what the police are like. If you're not responding in the correct manner, you don't know. And they're listen. I can't blame him if you break in the door and he's got a rifle in his hand. What's going to happen?
He was shot beyond recognition. How many times was he shot?
I don't know, but that's what I heard.
That's what you heard from his girlfriend? You heard that from?
No, by accounts by other people that
were there.
I don't think they were there. They heard, in this artist community, everybody hears and news goes fast. You know that.
Right. Now, what do you make of these conspiracy theories, I guess you'd call them. They're saying that he had made a phone call and he had a suitcase and he was going to get some royalties from some songs that he worked on, and then later on that night, this shooting happened.
Oh my goodness! Oh, I don't believe that in a million years. I just, I don't know the full truth and to even guess, but I don't. That one sounds a little too out there for me.
Okay, then speaking of conspiracy theories again, what do you make of all these theories where Paul is dead, and there was a swap
Oh, I can tell you Paul's not dead.
Okay, how do you know?
Well, it's kind of funny. I never, well, I'm talking to the real Paul, believe me.
Okay.
When you see the two of them together, which they're the real deal. John and Paul together, you could tell.
Okay, you said the two of them together, the two Pauls. I think I thought I had you.
No, it's a John and Paul thing.
Okay, but now it's because Paul used to come to your studio apartment. Is that right?
He used to come to our apartment, the one that we got later on, the
UFO one.
The one in the 50s. Yes, he just stopped by anytime, and when we were back in New York, that's where we lived. People think that we only lived in L.A. This was our apartment in the city. We lived in New York.
Now, and was that when on Saturday Night Live they made an announcement that they want to pay a check to the Beatles?
No, by that point that he went back to he was back at the Dakota.
Real quick question too, and we'll get into this a little bit more at the end about the hypnotism. But at the time you were working for John and Yoko, was there any other hypnotism going on? Any other hypnotism events or anybody being hypnotized?
When I with Yoko, I mean. No, she had. She believed in psychics and things that she believed in.
Okay, but there was no other hypnotism going on. I heard a story about Paul being hypnotized. He was about to sign some papers, and he was hypnotized. He wouldn't sign them.
No,
nothing like that.
No.
Now you said she was into psychics and tarot cards. Any kind of witchcraft or anything like really over the top?
That was up her alley. I mean, those are the things that she was into. Really?
Did it ever creep you out and say, "What the heck is going on here"?
I try not to think about it.
Okay.
Although, it never fails, I get caught in the middle of things, she believed in it and that was fine, to each his own.
She was openly saying to you that I believe in black magic?
No, she didn't. She wasn't openly saying it to me, but I know she had psychics because they came to the house.
And what would they do?
I don't know. I wasn't in the privacy of that reading.
Now, Paul also, too, I heard an interview with him where he said he believed in magic with a K, meaning, magic kind of. Did you any kind of contact with him about any kind of activity?
No.
No, you never mentioned anything?
No.
Okay. Now, there's so much I want to get to. Now, you guys go to California, right? And you're a big hit on the music scene out in California. Now, who were you hanging out with out there? Harry Nilsson was one, right?
Yeah, because Ringo was out there at the time. And Ringo would come in and out, and then Harry, because people don't realize it, but Harry was Ringo's best friend.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, it was really Harry and Ringo for years. Like I said, John was the new kid on the block, so that's what happened. And because the antics are bigger, when things happen, who makes the better copy? When you read the newspaper, Harry Nilsson or John Lennon. So take your pick.
Gotcha. And at the time, Ringo was he was a heavy drinker at the time, too.
Yeah, everybody was. But, Ringo was there on and off. He would be in L.A., and then he would go back to England, and then he'd come back. And so, it was one of those. And we would see him when we were doing recording sessions and stuff like that. John and I, when in between us staying in L.A., we were actually in... we were back in New York. People think that we lived in L.A. We really lived in New York.
And you were in Vegas, too, for a bit? You were in Vegas at one point?
We were only in Vegas for like a weekend. I mean, it was funny. I mean, we went out there and we wanted to go. And we flew out there with Elliot Mintz took us out there. And I'll never forget it. And I'd never seen a plane like a shuttle where everybody's dressed up, decked to the nines to get to Vegas. And here we are in the middle of the airplane, and we're in this row of seats. And John got really upset because he said to Elliot, "Why are we in the middle? Wasn't there first class?" I mean, it was just like because people were just hounding him. And he said, "There's no first class." He goes, "You couldn't put us to the front?" It's kind of funny. But anyway, we were there in Vegas, and I think Elliot stayed for a night or one night, and then he left the next day. And we went home. We stayed for a couple of days, and we saw Fats Domino and Frankie Valli, and we came home with Tony King, who and Michael Hazelwood. Michael Hazelwood was a songwriter who co-wrote songs with Albert Hammond, "The Air That I Breathe" and "It Never Rains in Southern California." And Tony King was head of Apple, general manager of Apple in England, and we were trying to convince him to move to America. So he was out there too. So we were with friends, and we came home in this big, huge car that they rented, and we went through the desert. And so there's some of the photos in my book, and that's where we were at the Calico Ghost Town.
Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah.
Now, when you're in LA, right, with this music scene, what about like the Beach Boys? Were you hanging out with the Beach Boys?
Well, we met them. It was funny. I met all of them, and we were at lunch one day, and I was sitting next to John, and I saw this guy coming towards him, and I'd put my head down, and I just whispered to him under my breath, going, "Guy approaching you is Dennis Wilson, Beach Boys."
Gotcha. like a president's age, right?
Yeah. You just want him to be prepared. I don't want him to be not prepared, and I would do that for him. And John appreciated that because, he sees so many people he wouldn't have recognized, and he might have. But anyway, so Dennis comes and stands in front of him, and he's John, and John just jumped up and he said, "Dennis!" And it was cute because Dennis was so amazed that he goes, "John Lennon recognized me," that type of thing.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was nice. And then we later went to Ricky Martin, not the Ricky Martin that you know of today, but Ricky Martin, that was Dean Martin's younger son, and it was his birthday, and we went to the house, and there was the whole the Beach Boys, everybody was there, and also Dino, Desi, and Billy, and Elizabeth Taylor, and we met Elizabeth Taylor there, and David Bowie. That's where we met him. In fact, it was Elizabeth Taylor who introduced us to David Bowie.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
Now, what about, there's an audio of John where he's talking about that you fall out of a car at 2 o'clock in the morning and you wind up at Doris Day's house. So I guess that was Terry.
Oh, God. No, Doris Day.
Yeah, that Terry Melcher was Doris Day's son.
Yes, I know that.
Yeah.
I don't remember that one. You don't remember that quote? No.
Okay, yeah. So now, were you guys hanging out with Terry Melcher?
No, I don't. We were hanging out with Roman Polanski and...
Really?
We weren't hanging out. We went to a couple of parties that it was at Roman's house, and it was Jack Nicholson, Roman Polanski.
Did you stay in touch with any of these people? Jack Nicholson or Roman Polanski?
No, but it was funny because I'm actually in heartburn sitting next to Jack Nicholson.
Get out of here!
By accident. It's all by accident. So.
And what about Robert Evans? Did you run into Robert Evans over there?
Who?
Robert Evans, the film producer?
No, he wasn't. I didn't see him, but Mike Nichols I saw.
Okay, because Evans was buddies with Polanski and Nicholson.
Yeah, I'm sure he might have been there, but I just remembered the other musicians like Jim Kellner. All the other musicians in L.A. were at this place, and it just happened that we would meet up, and so I've met some people that you read about. So I've met them.
Now, this is incredible. So I
just laugh because you're asking. I know it sounds weird, but I've met a lot of these people.
No, yeah, no, and it's just what a life, Now, what about
So wouldn't it be great that if I do more talking? I mean, do seminars at different universities and speaking engagements. This is why I was sitting at a club in that I'm a member at in London called the Groucho Club, and I sat there with my friend who designed my website, And I looked at her and I said, you know what the funny part about it is? I said, oh, this is called the Groucho Club and everything. I said, I'm probably the only one in here that have met Groucho Marx.
Now, what was he like off the air?
I mean, nice. We just said hello. It's not anything. It wasn't anything great. It's just what it is.
Now, actually, I do plan on putting on some seminars, probably out in California or in Vegas. Right. And I have in mind Mark Ebner, and you would be great for it, too. It's a paying gig, too.
Yes. Oh, that'd be good. Yeah. I hate to go out and not be paid for all of this.
Don't worry about that. But one of the guys I was going to have on was Dave McGowan, who's the author of the book Weird Scenes Inside the Canyon, but he's extremely ill right now.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, I know, and it doesn't look likely, but he has a big draw. Now, are you familiar with that book, Weird Scenes Inside the Canyon? It's about the Laurel Canyon music scene.
Laurel Canyon, I got to tell you something. I find Laurel Canyon very tough to drive because if you live right on Laurel Canyon, God help you trying to get off that road or into your home.
Right.
I like,
a lot of the musicians from that time lived in Laurel Canyon. In fact, Elliot Mintz lived in Laurel Canyon around that time. A lot of
drive over. It's one road, and I find the people that have a driveway right off of it, you got to know when to make that turn.
I got you. Yeah.
And and here's the other thing: there were 4 places that John and I lived on. In L.A.
Right.
I might as well say it here because people have, everybody's marketed, this is where John lived during his lost weekend. John lived here, John lived there. There's only 4 places. We lived in West Hollywood at our lawyers. We lived out in Bel Air at Lou Adler's old home. We lived at the Beverly Wilshire Hotel. And we lived out in Santa Monica at the beach house when we were doing the Harry Nilsson. Those were the only 4 places that John and I lived at during that time period.
Gotcha. But you said you did meet and hang out with Terry Melcher?
We probably might have met him. I mean, we met so many people, but, that's about it.
Now, what about Mama... John Phillips from the Mamas and the Papas.
Oh, yes, we met him. Absolutely.
You met him.
But at that point, he was married. We met him when we were with Mick and Terry Southern. And he was married to Genevieve Bugeaud at that time when I met John Phillips.
Now, didn't Mama Cass die in Harry Nilsson's apartment?
Yes, in London. And I remember when Harry said, "Oh, you can stay at my apartment in London," and I said, "Oh," and then I went, "Oh, wait a minute, hold on, wasn't it Mama Cass?" And he said, "Yeah," and I said, "Wait a minute, wasn't it Keith Moon?" He goes, "Yeah."
Yeah, and then you want John Lennon to go over there?
I said, "I don't think so."
I wouldn't take that chance. That's way too much.
That's later on. I mean, this is later on.
It was after John. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, now, I guess we're to the part of the story about how you and John broke up.
It's still complicated because we really never broke up because we stayed in touch until the time he died.
True, right. But there was an event.
In the sense of out in the public, it was more or less where he came and said to me that Yoko thought it was a good idea for him to come back to the house because of immigration. And immigration was a big thing hanging over his head because he didn't want to be thrown out. He really wanted to live in America. And we had a very, really lovely home because at the time when John and I were together, Julian was coming over a lot and hanging out with us and a lot of musicians. And, so it was quite interesting that she wanted, telling him that he should go back and it was scaring him because, she was telling him this is a great way. And then she said, well, I also have a great method to help you quit smoking. It's all done by hypnosis and drinking this tea and whatever else.
Did you ever find out what was in the tea?
No, but he did tell me that every time he drank it, he started to throw up.
And so he went to Yoko was insistent on him coming over to be hypnotized to quit smoking, and that's the same night that he decided he was going to go back to live with Yoko.
Well, not the same night. I mean, it took the whole weekend.
The whole weekend.
Yes.
And did you object to him going over there for the whole weekend?
Yes, I did. But she wouldn't let. He said as he was leaving to go over, because just to calm her down too, because she was insistent. He said, "When I get back, let's go to a nice dinner,
right? And
let's get ready. We're going to go down. We was getting ready to sign the deed on buying the house." And he said, "Let's get ready. We were planning on going down to see Paul and Linda
in New Orleans."
Correct.
Now, was John afraid of Yoko?
I wouldn't say afraid. No, not afraid. I think he was more, he just wanted peace. He just felt, he was so happy. And he was so happy that he didn't want to just rock. He didn't like rocking the boat.
You feel
he just felt that maybe he owed her, he owed her whatever she might want. So he was just going along with it. Because there was talk of divorce, no matter what anybody says, back in 1974. And I remember him coming back and he says, "Yeah, we're talking about divorce." And he goes, "I'll maybe be a free man in about 6 months."
Do you feel he was manipulated by her, or controlled by her?
I mean, I'm looking back, in my opinion, there was a lot of manipulation, yes. Okay.
Now, the night of the assassination, why don't you give us an idea of what your experience was that night?
It's such a horrible night. I tried to always block it out, but for me, it was. I was at a girlfriend's house who was going to make me dinner because she goes, "I never made you dinner. I really want to do it." And I'm at her house, and in those days, we didn't have computers and things, right. And it was more radio and music and talking. And this DJ came on and said something about this man supposedly might be John Lennon and shot, and I'm like, what? I did a freeze, and I got on the phone, and I couldn't, in those, it was push button. I couldn't even push the buttons. Wow. Correct. My fingers were beginning to freeze up on me. And then I turned around and I finally got through to a friend. And I said, "Did you hear?" He goes, "Yes." And we're both like, I hope it's not true. And then as I'm talking to him, it came over the radio that he had died. And so I ran out of the apartment and ran home. And as I was getting into, and I told the cabbie, don't go by. I happened to be on the west side yet. And I remember just going by and said, "Don't take me in that direction." He said, "Why?" I said, "John Lennon just got shot." And the guy goes, "What are you talking about?" So that's how the news hadn't even traveled yet. And I got back and the phone was ringing, and it was Ringo's executive secretary, Joan, calling me and said, "What's the number of the hospital?" And I said, "It's too late. He's gone." And she just screamed, "What's wrong with your bloody country?" And that's exactly at that point you start thinking, yeah. And he goes, "I got to go and let everybody know. I got to call." And then at that point, I called people that I knew that John and I knew together, and one of them was David Bowie, and so I called his home and got his assistant, and I woke her up, and I said, "Sorry, Coco, I didn't mean to wake you up," but I told her. She goes, "Get down here. David's out on a date, but I'm going to go find him. You shouldn't be alone." And it was just, and so the whole night, the three of us were watching the news. We just couldn't believe what was happening.
Did you know people who worked at the Dakota, like the doorman, the security guards? There's someone you could call there and find out what was going on?
You know what? Knowing the Dakota, that's not the thing you would have done, because it would have been, switchboard would have lit up and you couldn't get through.
Neighbors?
I know the operation, so it wouldn't have been the place to do it.
Any neighbors you could have called?
No, I didn't know anybody at that point. And it was just so hard to think. I mean, I finally met years later, and I met the cop that arrested Chapman, and he told me, and he said he He just wanted to be famous.
Now, you said you couldn't call the switchboard of the Dakota, but Elliot Mintz said he called the security booth.
Yeah, but his studio, he has direct line into the house.
Okay.
So it's a little different.
Now, what about, too, you hear some stories that say that Yoko was walking in with her entourage, but yet you never hear anything about these people that were with her that night.
I have no idea.
Okay.
No idea. Yeah.
And now, after that, you stayed in touch with Julian, though, right?
Yes. Well, I stayed in touch with Julian and Cynthia.
Right.
And Cynthia
just passed.
Yeah, and so Julian is he came over. Cynthia wanted to come over and accompany him because he was a young boy, and from what I understand, Yoko insisted that Julian come alone. So,
come where?
Over to America.
To go to John's funeral?
I don't know if you, but come over to the Dakota
shortly after the murder.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. She didn't want Cynthia to come.
No.
Oh boy. What do you make of all these stories about people who worked for Yoko? They're trying to write a book and suddenly they get arrested. You know what I'm talking about? It's like
I know. You know what?
Yeah. It just seems like there's a lot of headaches.
You know what? What you have to do at the end of the day is, look at all the stories. Do they match up with other people? Sure, it does. But why did it happen? I mean, I guess in poor timing, I guess in poor judgment, however but he's, it's what am I going to tell you? I wasn't there when all of this started to go.
I think you're telling me. No, my question for you, though, have you received any kind of, cease and desist letters or any kind of, headaches from all this? No.
No.
Now, Julian, though, he had trouble getting his will, the stuff from the will, his inheritance. And isn't there a story that he actually had to purchase his own father's memorabilia off of eBay?
Yeah, he does. He does buy stuff. Yes.
Because how did it wind up on eBay?
Well, the fact is, there are things that I guess the estate owns, and he has to purchase from the estate.
Right. So there's a lot of cold heartedness in all of this.
It's something, I can't really speak because it's not firsthand from me, but, I do know that he does purchase different things. But, and if it's whatever, however it's out there, some people have some certain things and,
Okay. Now, we're down to the last 7 minutes, and I don't want to leave off on a bad note.
Yes.
We should be celebrating, that you're receiving this award, which, I'm joking around about it, but come on, it's a big deal. No, it really is. Ambassador of Rock.
And listen, I love these people and I love the organization.
Yeah.
They do a great show. If anybody wants to see, these are hardworking actors and going out there performing. Monday night is a dark night. On Broadway.
Right.
So they've been rehearsing, and it's really. Corey and Donnie, Corey Gardner and Donnie Kerr, they do so much, and then and then the sponsors and all these people really give up a lot of their time to help others, and this is for a good benefit, and to good to raise money and to help other people.
To the last 6 minutes. So now you also do a lot of other stuff too, like your jewelry, your feng shui.
Yeah, I do jewelry. I design my own feng shui jewelry. People can actually write to me through my website. There's my book is also if they're having a hard time finding it because it's no longer in print, so I have a few copies.
Oh, really?
And then there's different things, and if anybody like I said, if you're going to talk and you want to hire me for other things, they can also reach me through there.
Now I have links to 3 of your books up on my they won't be able to get books from there if they go to Amazon?
Oh, they can. I mean, but they won't get it signed or anything by.
Okay, great. And they can go to maypeng.com and get a book directly from you.
Yeah.
How much are they?
Well, it's different, so they can because it's different because some people write to me from Europe, so it's all different on that level.
Okay, so and now we get the feng shui jewelry.
Feng shui jewelry, and so which it's stainless steel, and right now I have a limited amount, because I have to deal with the supplier.
Right.
So I'm trying to do also so many things all at once, so it's crazy.
And
But
what about? Do you have any other appearances coming up?
You know what's going to be funny? Vinyl, which is the new HBO series. There's somebody that's playing me. So God only knows what that episode's going to be about.
Do you know who they have playing you?
No, I do. I don't know who she is, but it's I think it's a young actress because it's got to be for that time period of the 70s.
Right.
Oh, but that's all I know. I don't know what the episode's about. I know nothing. So it's going to be kind of weird to see somebody up there, that's playing me.
Yeah, and you know what? I wonder if they're going to have that same kind of New York accent.
I don't know.
I bet you they don't. I bet you they don't.
But you know what? My accent was not as intense as it is now.
Oh, okay. See, because I always say my accent isn't as intense as it was either. But I don't know.
Once you go someplace, you adapt to the area. And
hey,
so
one quick question to David Peel. I wanted to ask you about this.
Oh, yeah.
Now, there's a story going around that David Peel, that the FBI was surveilling John Lennon the night of the assassination, but they made a mistake and they were following David Peel instead because he looked so similar. Do you know that story?
No, I've never heard that.
Never heard that story? Okay, no. I think that's actually in FBI documents.
Oh, well, I have no idea. They can't. If the FBI can't tell the difference, we're in trouble.
Well, I think we're in trouble.
Yeah.
And real quick, too, because another thing that stuck in my head is you mentioned something about the Hells Angels being up at the... Where were the Hells Angels? Up at the Dakota or the...
No, they were not. They were more when they lived in the Village. They lived on Bank Street, yeah, when they were downtown. And so that's where everybody was hanging out. It was a period where, that it was all with the Hells Angels and the Yippies. It was all in that same time period.
Okay.
Around 1972.
May Pang, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I can't thank you enough. And hopefully we can get you back again. And if you ever have anything you want to promote, you let me know right away. I'll put it right on the air.
Okay, you got it.
God bless.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
There we had May Pang, famous historical figure. Now she's been nominated here for this Ambassador of Rock. I really want to thank her so much for coming on the show. A real sweetheart, off the air and on. Monday, November 9th, 7:30 p.m., May Pang is being honored with the Ambassador of Rock Award at Le Poisson, Rouge, at 158 Bleeker Street, New York. You can get your tickets at rockersonbroadway.com. I just want to remind everybody, too, about our newest sponsor, the chaga mushrooms. It's a mushroom that grows way up in the northern forests. Native Americans and Russians have been using it for hundreds of years. It's not the kind of mushroom you eat, but you make a tea with it, and it's loaded with polysaccharides and other unique phytochemicals, and it's supposed to be very delicious, too. Now, you wouldn't guess you were drinking mushroom tea. The folks over at MichiganMushrooms.net have been harvesting chaga for years, and they have built a great reputation for having the best quality mushrooms for the best prices. These guys are recognized as experts in the field that can testify in court regarding mushrooms. Check out and like their Facebook page, Michigan Mushrooms LLC, and their website, MichiganMushrooms.net. Okay, 1 minute to go. Next week we have coming up the daughter of Malcolm X. Will be on our show next week. Then I have Dr. Fred Whitehurst, who has testified before Congress regarding... I know it's a nonsense to testify before Congress, so ignore that. But he testified before Congress on the Waco. He was involved in the OJ trial, TWA, FBI whistleblower. He will be on in 3 weeks. So we just have 1 week where we need to find a guest. Tomorrow I'm doing a show for the member section on satanic ritual abuse. Check out the member section at oppermanreport.com. I did a show just with another show about satanic ritual abuse, a guy that works for Russ Dizdar. We just did a show with him Thursday night, I believe it was. I forget his name. Richard Todd, I think his name is. And Richard Dunn. That's what it was. Yes, there's an after show. Going to reboot here. We're going to start up with the after show. The after show will be what do you call, devoted to my, dedicated to my daughter's 15th birthday. Meet you at the after show. If you're on Spreaker, please reboot.